Good afternoon. The Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing is now called to order. For the record, today is Monday, July 20th, 2020, and the time now is 4:10. That's 3 minutes fast, Sergeant Arms, but that's okay. Notice for this budget hearing was disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets. First public notice was issued on Tuesday, June 30th. Second notice was issued on Wednesday, June 15th. The committee will hear and accept testimony on Bill 282-35 LS, the fiscal year 2021 Appropriation Act as requested by the governor, relative to the Guam Education Telecommunications Corporation, better known as Pbs Guam. Fiscal year 2021 budget request. I'd like to acknowledge the Oversight Chair, Senator Kelly Marstaiten, who has joined me. And the general rules for this budget hearing, those testifying on behalf of the department or agency will be recognized by the chair, and they're already present, they're already seated. Written testimony shall be submitted to the committee. Please provide my legislative staff with your written testimony for photocopying. Testimony may be read, and lengthy testimony should be summarized. Testimony shall be confined to the substance, and to the panel and to my colleague, we'll be asking questions more specifically to 2021, but a few may lead into 2020. All right, individuals will be allowed to present oral testimony. Once you're done, you're asked to remain in the room for question and for additional testimony as may be desired by members of the committee. Proper form and decorum shall be practiced by all present in the public hearing room for these proceedings. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum may be restricted from providing oral testimony and or may be asked to leave or be escorted, removed from the room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. Please state your name and title for the record. At this time, I ask the panel members from Pbs Guam to rise and for our Sergeant Arms to please swear them in. Thanks, Sergeant Arms. And the panel, you can move the mask when you're speaking so it's more clear, and then just put it back on so your staff doesn't feel like, hey, man, COVID. Okay, just so we take care of each other. I will now ask you to please present your budget for 2021. Thank you.
Half a day, Mr. Chairman and Senator Marstaiten. My name is Ina Carrillo, General Manager of the Guam Educational Telecommunications Corp., also known as Pbs Guam. With me is my Administrative Officer, Ms. Lorraine Hernandez, who has been employed with the station for over 34 years. PBS' goal is to be a leader in positive change in the digital world while educating and connecting all ages and preserving Guam's culture and arts that will help shape Micronesia's future. Our goal to deliver these services is to deliver these services with the highest quality as possible. I am particularly proud of the work that we have done during this pandemic. We have been operating both on and off location to maintain our network broadcasting and to produce PBS University. We have been forced to think outside of the box with the resources that we have to provide the best quality programming and deliver the best possible quality of local educational programs for our island children, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. I recall mentioning in my confirmation hearing that Pbs Guam has been making it work with minimal resources and antiquated equipment. While that is still true, I'm happy to report that Pbs Guam was awarded a $500,000 grant from the Department of Interior to upgrade our studio and broadcast van. But there are still many deficiencies at the station. Our building has insufficient space and desperately needs an upgrade. On the broadcast side, our whole system will be obsolete in a few years. We will need to make a major infrastructure upgrade very soon, and I guarantee you that the cost associated with this upgrade will not be able to be subsidized by our annual budget. Administratively, we need to be able to fill vacant positions with capable employees. We have 3 positions that have been that we have been actively recruiting for with the Department of Administration, and I hope to finalize that in August or as soon as possible. PBS stations across the nation are doing so much, but have staffs of 5 to 10 times more our local staff. We have been working with the staff's skeleton crew for so long, and that's why it's imperative that we will fill the funded positions as soon as possible. This is necessary to realize PBS Guam's true capabilities. Our staffing pattern is included in our budget package, and it consists of 9 Gov Guam employees. These positions consist of administration, programming, and production positions. Under the Corporation of Public Broadcasting, we receive an annual grant that affords us the ability to subsidize 13 private employees, with benefits. These employees supplement our Gov Guam positions and fill our development and master control departments, as well as supplement the production and accounting departments. Senators, thank you for support of PBS Guam's vision, and we look forward to working with you for this year's budget. With that said, both Lorraine and I are open to any questions you may have regarding our budget.
Thank you. I have a few questions. How much COVID-19 federal assistance did you receive in 2020, and it extends into 2021, if anything at all?
We didn't get any funds on our own, but we were able to get some through the CARES Act via the Corporation of Public Broadcasting. So there was $260,500 that was received through the public CPB, Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
So you didn't get anything from the governor?
We did, no, no.
All right.
Unfortunately not.
Okay, then maybe I'll convince my colleague we need to ask that you get something, because everyone needs it, all the agency need it, maintain sanitation and so forth. Okay, does your department have any outstanding retro pay due to any of your employees as a result of the Competitive Wage Act of 2014? Probably not. My cousin's shaking her head saying no, nobody.
We're up to date. We don't
You're
have
up to date?
We
You're
don't
all
have
good.
any outstanding liabilities.
Okay, that's great to know. What is the status of the 3 vacant positions indicated as a recruitment in progress? You have 3 positions, right? You're trying to hire, correct, today? How does it look so far? Does it look promising that you could probably get them before the end of the fiscal year?
We're hoping so, yes. I know that there's 2 positions that are about to close this week, and with DOA. So we're hoping that in the next 2 to 3 weeks we could probably start entertaining applications and interviewing. And then there's another position that just went up that has been ongoing that we're looking to fill by the end of this fiscal year.
Please, before the end of the fiscal year.
Before,
okay?
yes.
Fill the position. I mean, that's what I would recommend. The Territorial Education Facilities Fund may not meet its revenue due to COVID. Do you receive funding from the TEF, right? The Territorial Real Property Tax, in other words. Is it 100% that you get from them, or?
Yes.
Now, what is your alternative plan to recover revenue shortfall from that? Do you have a plan to cover your?
Our only option right now would be to fundraise privately, but given the climate right now with other private businesses, it's a bleak option.
It's tight. Right?
Yes. So
What do you normally get when you do your telethon from politicians? What is the normal rate? I mean, I know I've donated, and then I've always challenged my colleagues. So, what is the normal amount? Maybe you should do that now. It's election year.
We could try that. We normally net upwards of 20 or a little bit over $20,000. Our biggest fundraiser, however, is the readathon with the Department of Education, and given the Department of Education's dual option for online education and face-to-face with limited hours, it's going to be tough for us to go and ask kids to fundraise and and actually to reach the whole population of DOE for readathon. Not only that, there's also the aspect that the kids have to go door to door and ask for donations. So we're trying to revamp that with Department of Education. We're also doing some other things. We're trying to look into doing more local programming. We've really done well during this COVID period, producing something called PBS University, which is distance learning for grade levels kindergarten through high school. We produced a 30-minute show per week for each grade level, and we gave them upwards of, at one point, 8 hours of program, no, more than that. 15 hours of programming a week.
Do you sell any ads? Any ads in between?
We weren't at the time because, our development, we were on lockdown, and so the development department couldn't underwrite the programming with other private companies as they were also on lockdown. But the plan is to develop more local programming that we can underwrite. With PBS, it's very restrictive as to what sort of underwriting we can accept. We cannot have any kind of call to action. So traditional advertisers may not place bigger buys with our station as they would see at a privately owned TV station where you could, run a traditional ad with call to action.
Well, the reason why how I'm trying to lead you on, right? Mm-hmm. It's election year, and there's what they reported there's 90 plus
yes.
competitors in the race, and if you send me an ad request, I will respond, and I'll make a challenge to everyone else running. And this would help you. I support Pbs Guam. It's just that you got to call me, let me know what is the donation requirement, how can I help you? And I know Senator Kelly's looking at me like, oh God, Joe's going to try to push for something. If it's $100 and you put it out, I'll challenge Senator Kelly right today to match it. And we ask everyone else, it's for the children. It's not something I put in my pocket.
Yes,
what you show and what you do helps everybody on Guam. Once in a while, my wife and I will sit down we go to the channel check this out. This is neat. This is very educational. Something I never watched before when I was younger. A lot younger, let me put it that way. But this is something that I enjoy. And I'm willing to support you personally. And like I said, it's election year. I ask you to do what you need to do to reach out, because with the theft and because of the COVID, I just want you to anticipate the worst case. But I do support PBS Guam. There's no doubt in my mind. I do support it, and I say that out loud. I do support you folks, but you need to find another source. And folks running this year, that's one source. It may not be a lot, but it will help, because you have other things that will happen, and it just causes them now to continue to add. And you've got folks that were MCs during your events. Dave Duenas, I know he's going to be able to donate, and there's many others. And Senator Kelly, if you have any questions on them, I'm done with PBS and full support. Thank you.
Suduas Masi, Mr. Chair. And so good to see both of you here. I've been very pleased to have watched you and worked with you throughout this last year and a half. And so some of what I want to begin with is just talking about some of the growth that's been happening. I think that this is real important for our community, and especially right now in this COVID-19 situation. You already mentioned being part of PBS University and so forth. And so we're seeing that we're having to figure out these ways to reach our youth, reach them as students, reach them otherwise, reach the rest of us, but in ways that allow for social distancing and so forth. And of course, I would accept the $100 challenge and up you to $150.
Uh-oh.
But so it was good to hear about the CARES Act money, that there's some that you received through PBS, but I do agree that there should be some ways, especially because you are filling such a niche for us, such a necessary niche for us, that we should try to find other ways that the CARES Act money supports what you're doing. So I think maybe you could explain a little bit with this PBS University, is that a partnership with GDOE? Is there any monies that's involved, or is this something that you did to help out? If you could explain that relationship and situation a little bit.
Okay. The idea started as we were entering lockdown. There wasn't, I felt that we needed to reach out. As the weeks went by, as we were in lockdown, I think it was the second week, we felt that we really needed to reach out to the community as people were stuck at home, and I felt that people will start to get stir crazy in their home. We needed to provide programming regarding either mental health, some sort of, health and fitness, or education. And it just so happened that I had a meeting with the superintendent just a couple months prior to this COVID thing, talking about possible partnerships. And distance learning was not even anything that we were talking about at the time. But I had seen some of my other counterparts in the States doing a version of distance learning. It was pretty much storybook time, and all the GMs were doing it. And of course, I didn't want to do that because I'm terrible on screen. So I reached out to Mr. Fernandez and Mr. Sanchez and asked them what was it that they needed to get their message out to the students. And it was a broadcasting arm to produce and push out their educational, their distance learning. They were doing, we had just launched PBS My University, oh my goodness, I'm having a brain fart. We just, an online educational, sorry, I'm having a brain fart. We had just launched an online educational portal, right, where you could go on, and it was similar to PBS University, but it was through our national counterparts. GDOE was really interested in what we had done, and so we just kind of came up with the idea of doing their distance learning and recording their teachers in each grade level, producing lessons for the week so that these kids could go to school at home. And at first we were going to do a few grades, and then it somehow ended up to be kindergarten through 8th grade, and so our production team went to work and we started producing 30-minute episodes for every single grade level. And we've been doing it since April. Yes. So, if you go onto our YouTube channel, if you go onto our videos, you'll see all the episodes. And it's a tool that GDOE can use for future learning purposes. Saipan and CNMI can go on there and have these lessons available. We can use them next year. It's not dated. It's something really, and we've archived it on our YouTube channel, and it's free for everyone. There isn't any funding attached to this. This all happened really quickly, and we partnered together, and we just decided that, and we committed, right, to each other that we would work together for the good of the kids. And so, unfortunately, we haven't been funded. I was able to put some figures together on what it would cost. It was something like, we're pushing already around $400,000 of work that we've been just doing with GDOE, and we haven't charged them for anything. So it's happy work.
Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
Because they got $41 million for education, and they're trying to spread it out on the technology side. Mm-hmm. So I will reach out to the DOE, and you know what? I'm going to bet that Ms. Gutierrez, the chairwoman of the Department of Education Board, is probably watching this. So I will be reaching out to DOE in reference to that funding.
Okay.
You're working hand in hand with them, and it's for our children. Mm-hmm. It helps their students. Mm-hmm. And why not get a little bit of funding so that you can carry this further? Thank you. Great job. Senator Kelly, please continue.
Suzuis Masi, and I concur, of course. It's wonderful for our agencies to be helping each other out, but also part of that helping out it's reciprocal. And they did receive CARES Act funding, really, where you haven't very much, if at all, right? So it helps you be able to continue to help them if they help you stay afloat, if that makes sense, right? So it's very good to hear that you were doing that, and I think I heard you correctly where you were saying that it could even be used in CNMI because it's on the YouTube channel. And maybe it's something, I don't know how local the content was tweaked, but it may also be something that people from Guam can use around the globe a little bit. So extremely, extremely beneficial, I'd say.
I believe so. Sorry, Senator.
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe so because it was all structured with the U.S. Department of Education standards. So everything is up to par, and it can. I know that GDOE has been sending it in to the Department of Education. Everything's been approved, and so the content is up to standard with across the nation.
And I have watched a little bit of it, largely because it's my oversight, so I really wanted to observe, right? But, and I've got grandchildren who are of the age that would be availing themselves of this. So I did take the time to watch some of it, and very, very enjoyable, very just personable, I would say, as part of it. And I think that's so important to draw our kids in and keep them engaged, is feeling like they can be interested in or feel that they are being personally addressed by someone, and that's some of the feeling that I got. Can you also, I want us to go through a little bit of the growth, because, you know, this helps us understand what it is we're funding, and maybe will help us look a little harder when it comes to looking at the numbers. Can you talk a little bit? I think you had worked towards starting the PBS Kids channel. Did that go through? Is that still in the works?
We were able to launch PBS Kids 24/7 during the COVID pandemic. So as of, I think it was like May 25th or something, we launched our second channel. So that was something, it's Kids 24, PBS Kids 24/7. We actually just broadcast it due to staffing. We broadcast 18 hours because we don't have master control overnight. So we have the second channel that we just launched. I would say that I'm pretty happy with the growth of PBS since I've started. The first few months was really a time of reorganization. We cleaned house, reorganized all the different departments, created a new media strategy, and planned for our 50th anniversary, which is this year. There are some new, our goal was to create these beacon type of events, bigger type fundraisers to sustain the station, as opposed to having smaller, more frequent fundraisers, and then also expanding on our local programming so that that can also financially sustain the station. When I came in, there was no local programming. Our first thing to do was to get the broadcast van in operation so that we could do some live sports. That was kind of a no-brainer. It's really easy. You take the van to the location, record, and you have sports. And so we did that. We partnered with UOG and did their men's basketball league in the fall of 2019. We signed an agreement with UOG to do the spring and the fall this year. I'm not sure if the fall is actually going to happen. I don't think sports is happening this coming year due to COVID. But local sports was one of the main items on our checklist as I was entering PBS. So we started to produce local sports. We had planned to do kids news with GDOE this coming year, but I think we're not going to do that. I think we'll probably just put that on hold to the following year. But right now we're doing PBS University, And we had a pretty strong liberation. And we had what else did we do? I think we raised over $60,000 this liberation. We were hoping to do it again this year, but as you know, no one could have ever planned for this COVID thing, and it's really affected us. And the best we could do right now is just kind of adapt and move forward. So I'm pretty happy with what we've done with PBS. I think we've filled some very crucial positions in production. We actually have an executive producer now with a full production staff, so we actually can produce something to broadcast. So, I mean, that's really good for liberation. It's really good for local programming. So we are set to move forward. It's just now, when is the island going to be set to move forward? Once we get past this COVID thing, I think we will be in a better position.
And I think the direction that you've been going in, developing these partnerships with the University of Guam, with the Guam Department of Education, that these are really important things you have been looking for. And PBS long has this tradition, but I think you've built on it, of looking for ways to sustain itself through the telethon, through the readathon. I know that there was the kids show that you had that was really excellently done, I thought. So I know that you guys have been working at being really innovative. There was that first gala and so forth. When you mentioned the news, I remember a discussion we had a while back, and you said that PBS was encouraging its different PBS affiliates to develop news. Is that how the kids' news came about, or are you still looking at developing some other type of news program for PBS?
A majority of the PBS stations across the nation produce a news hour or some sort of weekly news, daily news. And so they were encouraging us to produce news at one of the conferences that I went to, our annual meeting. As I was doing market research, I just, I feel like the island is oversaturated, with news. There's the two private news TV stations. We have a couple of few newspapers. I don't know, I think we have close to 20 radio stations. And so I didn't think that producing another news outlet would be feasible. So the next best thing, I think, was kids' news. That was kind of a niche market. It's something that we could produce. It's educational, and it also gives a platform for our students to voice their opinion. And so that was something that we wanted to do instead of waste our time with another news outlet that we on this island did not need. And so, we were prepared to train the kids to be their own reporters and produce their own video and then come and anchor their own news. And it's something that we're still going to continue to do. It's just a matter of when DOE is back into session and we have, some hands-on time with the students to actually train.
And we look forward to that. I think that is a very good solution. It's drawing in the younger generation, maybe giving them some goals and aspirations, and having them feel like somebody is working to relate to them. So I can see that could do very many good things. And then it follows PBS's encouragement. So in looking at the staffing pattern, so forgive me if I missed this, but I remember when I was first touring the facility and we were both new, but one of the things that I had learned was the newbie at the time was somebody who had been working there for 10 years. So PBS has had this really beneficial situation in that people have been with it for a long time. So they know the ins, the outs, and things like that. They have that institutional memory. Are there any employees that are known to be or estimated to be retiring this year?
If you notice on the staffing pattern, there was a little bit of a dip in the budget actually. There was a little bit of a dip in 2019. We had one employee that had retired, and then one unfortunately had passed away. So then in 2020 budget, we filled one of those positions, and then in the upcoming budget, we plan to fill the second one, and that's the one we're recruiting for now. We do have one employee who will be retiring in September, and it's a critical role. She does all of the programming and all the logs, and actually inserts the programming. So she tells Master Control what to run and what commercials to run. And so we would need to fill that position as soon as she retires. She plans to retire at the end of September. The only one. Yes. That's the only one, I think.
Okay, and so you have things in place for how you'll go about and get that filled after?
Unfortunately, well, yes, we do. What I'm doing is I'm taking our private fund employees, and we're cross-training. Two of them will be cross-training with Vicky's position, and then hopefully when we get the Gov Guam replacement, they can cross-train her. It's just she has so much institutional knowledge. She's the only one at the station that deals with PBS Corporation and that programming side. So it's something that would really cripple the station if she was to leave and we couldn't recruit for 3 months. So thankfully, I have employees that we are able to cross-train that are not Gov Guam employees, but can fill the gap.
Very good to hear that that strategy is going on. In some of the situations that I've observed over the years, one of the struggles is even when they know that somebody's contract is up or somebody's going to be retired, advertising for positions comes at a certain time, and very often in these offices I've seen these gaps of 2, 4, or 6 months before people get back on track. So this cross-training ahead of time to prepare for that is very, very important to hear. The Guam Film Office was transferred to PBS Guam, and we're hoping to develop it to a point that it will become a revenue producer for the corporation. Can you describe for us the stages that you've been able to go through and what you have scheduled for it for this upcoming year?
Okay. The Guam Film Office still has not been funded. We were hoping that it would be funded this year, but it has not. So currently, we have put together a advisory board. It consists of 6 members. We have been meeting, and we are at the point where we have rules and regs, but they're still in the draft form. Once we get those approved, then we'll be able to do the remaining AAA process and go through the public hearings and that whole ordeal. But until it's funded, really, we just can't move beyond making the rules and regs and getting the film office ready to open.
So for this year's budget, have you put in some budget to help it continue to move along?
This doesn't include any funding for the film office. This is just PBS.
Now, on one hand, we're encouraging entities to be creative, form partnerships, find federal grants, whatever they can do to help them survive. But in other budget oversight hearings also, we encourage everybody to put in what they really need. And so if you really need that for the film office, it doesn't mean that we'll necessarily be able to find it, but we should look at it to see what we can do or if there's any possibilities. So I would ask that you put something in there for us to at least be able to consider or for us to all look at and maybe put our creative minds together as to where funding like that might come from. So if you could do that, that at least gives it a fighting chance, I would say.
I could do that for sure. I have a budget. We have a budget that we've already identified, not identified, but had planned for, so we could include that.
And with PBS Guam, it is a 501c3 nonprofit, I believe. Is that status still current?
Yeah, PBS is, we're not a 501(c)(3) yet. We try to do it. There's just things that we need another advisory board to conduct that. We didn't go through the process because it has to also go through an attorney and get all the outlines, for that. So it has never been approved and moved forward. So, yeah, that's the only thing that we haven't done.
Okay, and I know PBS has tackled a lot this year, but with having a lot of people who are go-getters, who we can at least continue to look at it as a consideration. Some of the boards have an attorney as a member. I'm not sure that your board does, but that might be something to consider, is that one of the positions for the PBS board should be an attorney, so that you have someone who's giving you legal advice or knows how to think along those terms. But yeah, I would like us to continue to work on this together to see if we can pursue that, and then I think that opens up some doors for you. Although you've been very good at fundraising already, but anything that we can do to open up some doors, I'd like us to at least continue to explore that. With your antenna tower at Barragata Heights, what is the status of that right now?
So the land up at Barragata Heights, we currently lease the land from the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, and we just signed a 3-year lease, maybe 8 or 9 months ago. So we'll be leasing that property for the next couple years. I have been working with Jack Hattick over there to try to do more of to amend the lease to be a 5-year lease instead. Or we've been talking about 10 years.
No, the one that she's talking about is the payment for the property has been extended for deferment. But the property up there, I guess we can use it until they take it back from us.
Yeah.
But we do have a contract with that to use it. But it's just every 3 years, we go through a contract of deferment, and we do their board.
Yeah, public notice.
Public notice, the camera, we film their meetings.
So you
In lieu
provide
of-
them some service, what you're saying?
Yes,
Kind of a
we do,
trade.
in lieu of payment for, it's like
In
an
lieu of
underwriting.
payment, so they
Yeah.
shouldn't be, they should just give you an indefinite lease, just give you for the
Yeah.
next 99 years.
We're
Or
trying-
until PBS goes away.
We're trying to, that's why I was trying to extend. So with Jack, we were talking about maybe a 5 or a 10-year lease as opposed to every 3 years us having to go through this. And I think he was trying to change the lease so that we were able to quantify that as an asset to PBS as well. So we're working with Jack right now
Okay,
to see
well-
what other options we have, because that antenna has been there. That's our broadcast antenna. We need the property. It's a perfect location because that's where all the other broadcasters are. It's just a whole bunch of antennas in Barragata Heights.
Right.
We would like a longer-term lease.
Well,
We just-
we'll take a look at that with your oversight, and we'll see what we need to do. Because you've been there for a long time. Now we need to come up with a plan better than that. There's no reason why PBS has to, you provide a service. You shouldn't be paying, you shouldn't be going through this deferred program. Just set it up and be done. Chamorro Land Trust, wake up. This is PBS. This is not a regular Gulf Guam job agency.
That'll be
Yeah.
good.
Okay? Thank you. Senator Kelly?
Thank you, Senator.
Suzus Maasi, Mr. Chair. And so, yes, we're definitely in agreement there that, you know, the government needs to be working together and finding these ways that it's supporting each other, especially for an entity that is out there providing educational programming for our children that other channels do not. There's a wholesomeness there. I remember we were talking about some of the new programming that they're having, and it's very exciting and doing very, very good things for our community, like I said, that other channels are not doing, whether they are kid-oriented or not. So I'm really advocating that we continue to find ways to find this mutual benefit and the support between the different entities, and that we're supporting each other, that if you are doing work for them, that there's some sort of in-kind consideration, either through a land lease or through payment with CARES Act money or what it might be, because we're all here trying to just survive through this, but also be here for the long term and have those long-term plans in place. So duas ma'asi, Mr. Chair, for letting me ask the questions that I did, and thank you both for coming here and being prepared to answer questions all the way from kind of A to Z today. We covered a lot of ground.
Thank you, Senator Kelly. That being said, thank you for your testimony, and thank you for revealing some good information. In reference to Chamorro Land Trust, there's been bills where they gave the land to the agency that needs it. When there's a need in the public, in the community, that's just how it works. They shouldn't be trying to figure out a way how to make money out of public PBS. It just doesn't make sense to me. We do it for everyone else. Why do we need to do it for something for the children? And I was teasing Senator Kelly here on the site. Are you smarter than a fifth grader? That maybe is what you want to show on your show. I would enjoy that. I enjoy that. I mean, I've seen some smart kids, and there are smart kids today. But that being said, the committee will conclude the budget hearing with the Guam Education Telecommunications Corporation, known as PBS Guam. Please, the committee will continue to receive testimony. Please address your written testimony to the Committee on General Government Operations, Appropriation, and Housing, and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. Agustin at gmail.com. Sizuz Masi for your attendance today and participating in today's hearing. And for those at home, thank you for watching the budget hearing on Bill 282-35 LS relative to the Guam Educational Telecommunications Corporation, PBS, better known as PBS. Guam is now adjourned at 4:55. Thank you. Have a nice day.